You have a journalist here trying to legislate every contact that Caitlin Clark has with another black person. Way to give that thing oxygen and gas. Welcome to Racist of the Week. My name is Reese Waters. Now, this is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. You can email me at reese@reesewaters.com. Today's nominee, Caitlin Clark fans. Oh, I'm sorry. Caitlin Clark trolls. And here it is. I thought they got the message when she liked Taylor Swift's tweet.
So, Caitlin Clark liked Taylor Swift's post endorsing Kamala Harris, and now her comments on Instagram look like this. Just threw away my jersey, hashtag Trump 2024. I noticed you liked Taylor Swift endorsement posts of Camille and Tampon Tim. I figured you were more based and more aware. Bummer. Just play basketball and build your brand, a brand that the entire country can love. Stay out of politics. Your brand will suffer. You are young. Ask your close friends and family for advice. Definitely should have stayed out of politics, Caitlin Clark. Loved watching you, but now I refuse after seeing you support Taylor Swift and Kamala. Please don't get sucked into politics. Taylor Swift is fully endorsing candidates that want to allow children to be surgically or chemically treated to change their bodies permanently without parental consent. Do your own research. Think she's a phenomenal entertainer and talent otherwise. We lost another great baller, one of the best I've seen as a woman. I only started watching because of her outstanding skills, but now she's involved in the politics of the Democrats. I'm moving on to something else. You are a female athlete. Why would you support a party that are allowing men to play women's sports? You just couldn't keep your politics out of sports. You've lost millions of supporters. Trump 2024. Dang, supporters you when all the liberal WNBA were against you, but can't support someone that is voting for Kamala, whose policies will hurt the future generation's ability to own a house or get a high-paying job. Was just starting to finally pay some attention to the WNBA because somebody was actually worth watching, then you caved. Bae, why are you a Democrat? Them folks told you to shut up and dribble, huh? That's crazy. Crazy. All this over Instagram like.
Do you think Caitlin Clark supporting Kamala Harris, will that break the spell, the hold that Caitlin Clark has on me?
At Friday's news conference following the conclusion of the Indiana Fever season, rookie Caitlin Clark and head coach Christy Sides condemned the racist rhetoric that many WNBA players said that they've experienced this season.
Nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats. Those aren't fans, those are trolls, and it's a real disservice to the people in our league, the organization, the WNBA.
Let's go ahead and check out a sampling, just a quick run through. And here I thought it was about the love of the game. Here I thought it was about real, honest, genuine interest in women's basketball. We accuse you of trying to use her to perpetuate your racial fantasies. No, everything is about race with y'all. Everything is about race with y'all. Now look at you. Huh? Man, that hit dog hollered. I'll tell you that right now. Y'all didn't even consult the rules of racism. Let me go ahead and check out that handbook. Let me break it out right now. Okay, first of all, what part of the rules of racism is picking somebody who's in a team sport? You want to pick somebody who's in a team sport, a sport that is predominantly black, and use them to realize your racial fantasies. How exactly is that going to work for that person when that is the environment that she's operating in while she's trying to excel in a black space? Huh? How does that help her? That's just what I want to know. How does that help her to carry the weight of your racial fantasies? And how does that make her look that you are using her to carry the weight of your racial fantasies in a predominantly black league? Then you add on to that the fact that because it's a predominantly black league, she has predominantly black teammates. How are they supposed to react to that? Huh? How are Caitlin Clark's teammates supposed to react to knowing that she is carrying the weight of the most ignorant, hateful, racist trolls on her back with every assist and made three-pointer? Huh? Do I want to complete this 3-point play to give her an assist knowing y'all racists going wild out and call me ends? Do I really want to do that? Talk about hustling backwards. Y'all want to have this girl out here throwing passes to herself. Actually, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. What you actually want is an all-white team. That is exactly what you would want, is an all-white team. The online targeting of WNBA players reached a tipping point during the postseason after the Connecticut Sun eliminated the Fever in the first round of the playoffs on Wednesday. Sun veteran Alyssa Thomas pointed to the Indiana Fever fan base as directing hateful comments at her and her teammates. Sun guard Dejanay Carrington shared online before Game 2 against the Fever an email she received from an anonymous source that included threatening and racist language. Let's just call it a threatening and racist email. That's what it was. This all came because Carrington inadvertently poked Clark in the eye during Game 1 between the Sun and the Fever. Clark went on to shoot 4 of 17 for 11 points in Indiana's 93-69 loss. Clark's fans, quote unquote, blamed her poor shooting performance on Carrington, and the Sun guard was harassed and received death threats because of it. Because that's what we want to be doing, is legislating any physical contact that she has with any other player, right? Because that is your genuine interest in the game, is reacting that way to any time she is involved in any sort of play with a black person. And if there's flames to be fanned, you know USA Today's Christine Brennan can't be far away. It's like you put out the bat signal. She just comes scurrying. At shoot-around the day before Game 2, and this was a game in which Alyssa Thomas had a triple-double, Napheesa Collier had 42 points, and Sabrina Ionescu scored 36. Christine Brennan just had to ask Carrington if she intended to hit Caitlin Clark in the eye.
Dejanay, did you, when you went and kind of swatted at Caitlin, did you intend to hit her in the eye? And if so, could you just, or if not, either way, could you talk about what happened on that play?
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me. But no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her. So obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am. So yeah.
Did you and Marina kind of laugh about it afterwards? It looked like there was later on in the game they caught you guys laughing about it.
No, I just told you I didn't even know I hit her, so I can't laugh about something I didn't know happened.
Well done, USA Today. Well done. I can see you guys are keeping your level of journalism intact. I love the way that just like the fans, the worst fans, quote unquote, you have a journalist here trying to legislate every contact that Caitlin Clark has with another black person. Way to give that thing oxygen and gas. Also note the follow-up. She tried to trip her up and she thinks she's slick. She thinks she's slick. You saw that. She just said it was an accident, but then she wanted to ask her about laughing about it. You think, see, yeah, no. They need to come for her, huh? Oh, they did? All right. On Friday, the WNBPA, which is the Women's National Basketball Players Association, released a statement that called Brennan out by name. Oh, you gotta love that justice. The union called Brennan unprofessional and said she tried to bait a professional athlete into participating in a narrative that is false and designed to fuel racist, homophobic, and misogynistic vitriol on social media. Quote, I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments like those from the Indiana Fever fan base, Thomas said. It's unacceptable, honestly, and yeah, there's no place for it. We've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it. Now, I do want to holler at the Indiana Fever fans because I've had this conversation with regards to men's teams, how exactly it goes for you as a fan base to antagonize a pool of players that comprise the majority of those in the league? Like, how exactly does that help the Indiana Fever, assuming you are an Indiana Fever fan, and that's probably giving you way too much credit? I'm wondering how that helps the Indiana Fever for the black players to have the perception that y'all are racist. How's that gonna go? Because at the end of the day, you want Caitlin Clark to be your GOAT, right? You gonna need her to go deep in the playoffs, win some championships, this, that, and the other thing. She gonna, oh, the all-white team. That's right, you want the all-white team. Okay, so you would rather her lose until you get your all-white team. Is that what I'm getting? I'm assuming that's the case. At least on the men's side of things, you could say, well, some brothers will take the money. And regardless, you know, nobody's going to leave that pot of gold unclaimed. And if they have to deal with racial slurs because of it, that's what it is. But in the WNBA, quote, basketball is headed in a great direction, but nah, we don't want fans that are going to degrade us and call us racial names. That was Thomas, by the way. She also said the Fever should start checking their fans and also called on the WNBA to do more to protect its players. Amen. Sun coach Stephanie White said the toxicity her players have experienced, as well as players around the league, is unacceptable, but also a reflection of society. She specifically mentioned racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia as issues that plague the country. Now, the WNBA released a statement on Wednesday also condemning hateful comments towards players. The WNBA is a competitive league with some of the most elite athletes in the world. While we welcome a growing fan base, the WNBA will not tolerate racist, derogatory, or threatening comments made about players, teams, and anyone affiliated with the league. League security is actively monitoring threat-related activity and will work directly with teams and arenas to take appropriate measures, to include involving law enforcement as necessary. White said the media should not allow online trolls to become the story and potentially fuel harmful narratives. Fever forward Aaliyah Boston expressed a similar stance in her season-ending news conference, saying,
I feel like the media plays a big role in what other people think, whether they watch the game or not. Sometimes people aren't even watching the games. They're just looking at storylines, headlines that come out, and they're running off of that. And it's easy to attach yourself to the Fever because we have a lot of attention around us right now. And it's so easy to say, well, I'm a Fever fan, I'm an AB fan, I'm a Caitlin fan, and just dispute hate off of that. And that's never okay.
And Aaliyah Boston, by the way, is somebody that's been on both sides of it when she was at the University of South Carolina, which was upset by Iowa. They all of a sudden were the vanquished team in the movie that got beat by the White Knight. Now she's in a position of playing with Caitlin Clark as she has the weight of your racial fantasies on her back. Sides, by the way, the coach began her season-ending news conference on Friday alongside general manager Lynn Dunn by reading a statement that emphasized there's no place for hate or racism of any kind in the WNBA. She also said the people spreading vitriol aren't real Fever fans or WNBA fans. Yeah, they aren't even basketball fans. They are just fans of racism. Yeah, they are fans of racism and social media. That is all they are fans of. Clark, who won the WNBA Rookie of the Year award, mentioned in June that people shouldn't be using her name to push any hateful agendas. The number one pick broke several records throughout her first season and continues to bring unprecedented viewership ratings and attendance to women's basketball. Quote, there are a lot of really good fans, whether they've been fans for 20 plus years or whether they're new fans in our league. I think continuing to uplift this league in a very positive light is the best thing we can do, because there's so many great players, there's so many great teams, and there's so many positive storylines that can be written and celebrated. And for me, that's why I became a fan. As far as Caitlin Clark is concerned, I've outlined my feelings in my prior video. I'm in the position of really admiring the way that she plays basketball, yet at the same time hating that all of her victories, all of her records, all of her incredible athletic ability is being co-opted in the service of nonsense, garbage MAGA politics. Which is really unfortunate because it makes me root against her thanks to no efforts of her own. She hasn't actually done anything, but I hate anything that makes those people happy. Yet at the same time, the fact that she has yet to attract or court these people in any way The fact that she has gone about her business of just playing basketball, and at every opportunity where they try to toss her some bait to pick a side, she has decided that she's not going to, is extremely impressive, and it makes me root for her all the more. What I will say is I commend her for addressing this stuff head on at this particular point, but it's something that definitely could have been done sooner. That being said, I understand she has a lot that she's dealing with and processing right now. She is a rookie playing in a new league, so I'm gonna give her a bit of a pass right now. We'll see how she continues to interface with this moving forward. As far as the league is concerned, so let me get this straight. Vitriol and hate that's been spewed online, that's been directed at your predominantly black player pool and at black fans of the league, you now want to address after the Fever season is over? So you waited until the Fever season was over, and now you want to talk about the hate and vitriol that the rest of the players have been dealing with all season? Is that what you just did? So you made sure you went and got all the money. You made sure you went and got all of the racism money before you actually wanted to condemn something that's been going on for months. Well done. Well done. Quite frankly, y'all deserve each other. Quite frankly, y'all deserve each other. That is horrible. And now I understand why, like a magnet, they flock to the WNBA, because you was going to let this go down. And as far as the racist fans are concerned, I guess you guys got to, now that their season is over, you got to find something new to realize your racial fantasies. It's probably a UFC card this weekend. Oh, it is? Okay, yeah. I'll see y'all over there.
I'm the African fighter in the UFC.
I understand what he's trying to say, but the one thing that I think he's failing to realize is, just because I go to China and my parents are in China and I'm raised in China, that doesn't make me more Chinese than the people from China.
This is my African brother right here. Let's go. What's up? Let's go. Yeah. What's up? Get what you gonna do? Yeah, my African brother. Yeah, my African brother. What's up?
I'm African, but I ain't no brother of yours, son.
Let's go. If I do a 26andMe, those who are from Nigeria, do a 26andMe DNA test. It'll tell you where you're from. I will show you where you're from.
Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I especially want to thank those of you that have been emailing me at reese@reesewaters.com. I do look at it, and I wanted to say I've taken a number of suggestions. Just in the past week, I think half the videos were suggested from emails that I received from you guys, so keep them coming. And just because I may not be able to respond doesn't mean that I don't see it, and it doesn't mean that it's not impactful, because the email and the feedback that I get from you guys shapes my perception of the people that are consuming my content. So it really does impact the direction that we take moving forward. So just because I may not respond to your email doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. So thank you guys very much. Of course, we have the website, reesewaters.com. There's some new merch on the website as well, so be on the lookout for that. And by the way, if you get some merch, if you get a shirt or hat or whatever the case may be, send me a photo of yourself with it. Maybe put in the title merch pick or something like. I could think of a way better subject title. Those of you that have signed up for my newsletter, use the portal on my website. I appreciate you guys for doing that. There'll be a new newsletter that is going out shortly, and in it will be updates on channel membership. That's right, something that you guys have been mentioning to me for a long time. We're finally on the precipice of it, so you can get all the details and the membership. Again, you can sign up on my website or send me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. There is so much on the horizon, and I, for one, am extremely grateful that you're along with me on this ride. We certainly are not a monolith, because it's one over there right now, lying on CNN. Welcome Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page, and shout out to all of our members here on the channel. All right. Fresh off of a devastating knockout at the hands of Jasmine Crockett.
He can go and cower in a corner, or he can show up and be lit on fire.
Byron Donalds has been fumbling for the mouthpiece in order to try and regain his dignity. Unfortunately, that is something that apologizing for Donald Trump just won't allow.
The reality in America is that crime is massively up.
Crime is not massively up. That's a lie.
You can bang the table all you want, but
you're
that's
lying,
not true.
Congressman. You're lying.
However, in the interest of competition, and given that we have had all of these conversations surrounding black men, I thought I would give him another opportunity, this time taking on Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock. Who will do us the honors? Why don't you get us started, Reverend?
This race is going to be tight all the way to the end. And I think the important thing is that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz keep doing what they're doing, and that is to center the concerns of ordinary people. Here's the contrast that the people of Georgia have in front of them. They have one candidate who's focused on their needs, ensuring that we continue to lower the costs for folks on everyday goods, one who has capped the costs of insulin and other prescription drugs, who passed a tax cut for middle and working class families, the expanded child tax credit, which we would like to see extended. She's focused on ordinary people. And then you've got Donald Trump, who's focused on himself. That's what this race is about. We'll continue to make the case until November 5th. And in the end, I think Georgians are going to get it right. They're going to support Kamala Harris just as they supported me.
Well, this is pretty unobjectionable as far as I'm concerned. Even Trump's own black outreach has focused on himself. Hey, they trying to get me just like y'all. Yeah, when it comes to black people, I am the best for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, I know you because you think I'm talking about how much I'm doing for you. No, this is about my resume. Yeah, I really don't care.
She's got several events courting black voters. I know that you are talking about the black vote coming out, particularly black men, for Donald Trump. You're trying to help him along with that. To that point, can you talk specifically about what Donald Trump would do policy-wise in a second term to help black Americans?
Before you answer that, Byron, let's just have a look at some of the highlights of your black outreach up to this point.
During Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative minded, but more black people voted conservatively.
Why is the ex-president calling somebody in my barbershop? This has nothing to do with small black businesses.
You're normalizing an insurrection. Have you no shame? I'm not even paying you to do this stuff, man. You do not.
Byron?
Sure, and thank you for that question. What Donald Trump is going to do is going to be actually quite similar to what he did in his first term. When you lower tax rates, when you cut these reckless and crazy policies that are now in the Kamala Harris administration, and you cut those regulations down, what it does is it frees up the ability for businesses to thrive, for people to be able to earn more money, for them to be able to keep more money in their pockets.
Okay, let me stop you right there, Byron. How you gonna pay for it?
To me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff. Term, just to help it, but to me, it's the most beautiful word in the dictionary.
Tariffs, do you think that will bring in the revenues? To use another bipartisan group, Peterson Institute, they say they only bring in $200 billion. That is that's barely the cost of two of your promises.
Also, it sounds to me a lot like trickle-down economics. That's exactly what that sounds like to me. Oh no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We gonna cut their tax rates, and then they gonna have so much money, they gonna come get your goods and services. So you gonna be all right.
All of his economic policies actually have a stabilizing effect on prices, and they grow our economy. You couple that with his energy policies. He calls it drill, baby, drill. But what it is being energy dominant in the United States of America. That also allows for us to put a cap on these massive price increases under the Kamala Harris administration.
Oh, you mean the inflation? Is that what you're talking about? The inflation? Talking about the inflation that's better here than anywhere else in the world because of the global pandemic. Okay. All right. I'm just checking.
What that means in particular for black families is that you have an ability to earn more money, keep more money, wages actually growing when you adjust them for inflation. And then the big stat, and this happened during the first Trump administration, nobody likes to talk about it. I heard Senator Warnock mention it.
It said, no, Warnock, no, you don't need to jump him. You don't need to jump him. No, guys, we gonna go to you in a second. I see you foaming at the mouth.
Wages adjusted for inflation were massively up under Donald Trump for black men, for black families, but for all Americans. The wage gap that Democrats love to lecture about, the wage gap in 2019 was actually shrinking under Donald Trump's administration, his economic policies, his energy policies, and his regulatory policies.
Can I just go back to the tax?
So that's the agenda that black men are looking at.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you for that. If you know he up here lying, why you keep bringing him out here then? Thank you for your nonsense. Now let me hit you with some facts.
Kamala Harris would say, or would ask the question about how tax cuts for wealthy Americans will help the black community. What's the answer to that?
Well, Kamala Harris would say something like that, but we know that she's wrong because economically she's been wrong for the last 1,400 days. If you look at Tax Cut and Jobs Act.
What is her job? Is she in charge of the Fed? She in charge of the Fed? No, she in charge of the Treasury. She in charge of the Treasury. No, she president. She vice president? Wow, dang. So they put the vice president in charge of our financial policy and the border?
It cut tax rates across the board, mostly for middle-class families. So this is why wages adjusted for inflation for black families was higher under Donald Trump than any other administration in the history of our country. That is a record of economic success.
Let me just quickly play for you what former President Obama said exactly on this question of the economy a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it was pretty good because it was my economy. It wasn't something he did. I spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time. He didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts.
How do you respond to that?
Very easily.
And by the way, I would add, this is what was left by those big tax cuts.
Nearly $33 trillion. That's what the U.S. national debt was as of early September 2023.
We really put a dude that went bankrupt that many times in charge of the economy.
I was working in finance during Barack Obama's administration. Let me tell you, the economy under his especially the last 5 years, was growing at about 1 to 1.5% per year. I think at the time, President Obama was saying that, this era of large economic growth is something of the past. We're going to have a more consistent economy. Well, in his words, a consistent economy meant one that barely grew. So when Donald Trump came in, he brought his tax cut policy in, which cut taxes across the board for everybody in our country, coupled the fact that he did cut massive regulations from the Obama administration. And what did we see? Economic growth in the United States went from 1.5% under Barack Obama to 3.5% under Donald Trump. Wages adjusted for inflation, like I said, because it's the truth, increased for every subgroup of Americans in our country. The wealth gap was closing. We were actually booming economically far more than we did under Barack Obama. So that's a cool statement he made on the stump, but it's not true.
Well, Byron Donalds, that's a cool statement that you just made. Let's go to his actual statement that he made on the stump.
And the reason some people think, wow, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good because it was my economy. We had had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time.
Let's also look at the state of the economy when he took over.
The crisis written in the fine print of subprime mortgages, on the ledger lines of once mighty financial institutions, and on the pink slips that have upended the lives of so many people across this country and cost the economy 2.6 million jobs last year alone.
So if I'm following you, Barack Obama did nothing with the economy and gets no credit for what happened between 2008 and 2016, even though you had 75 straight months of growth. He gets no credit for that. Donald Trump gets all of the credit for the boom that happens after he takes office in 2017, but none of the blame for the pandemic, which he made worse by the way he managed it. He gets none of the blame for what that did to his economy, but the Biden-Harris administration gets all of the blame for the carnage that was created by the pandemic that he mismanaged and how that affected their economy.
China.
But then Donald Trump also gets credit for the bounce back that they handled from COVID. He gets credit for that, but then gets to criticize them for the inflation.
You can say Kamala, you can say Kamala. I said, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter what I say. I couldn't care less.
And also, this is Kamala Harris, the vice president, the one that you're blaming for all of that. I just want to make sure I got the talking points right. Myron Donalds, you still selling that stuff?
Congressman, before I let you go, I do want to ask about a law that Congress passed, a new version of the Electoral Count Act. They passed it 2 years ago, and it makes it harder to object to certifying election results on January 6, 2025 and beyond. Some Trump allies have argued that's unconstitutional. The House Speaker hasn't taken a clear position. Should Congress follow that law in certifying the 2024 presidential election?
Look, I think when you're talking about the election this November, the thing that people want is that local jurisdictions follow the law passed by the states. As long as everybody does that, there's not going to be any problem certifying this election this November. But what really matters about this election are the issues facing the American people, not the Electoral College Count Act. Because what we need is a president who's going to secure our border, actually make our foreign policy be strong again and make sense again. That's what matters.
Are you going to follow the new law about certifying?
And I've been very clear, Dana, as long as states and jurisdictions follow election procedures in their states, there will be no problem for me or anybody on Capitol Hill.
All right. Well, that's a giant loophole that you're leaving there, which there's no evidence that has not happened. It didn't happen in 2020.
No, that wasn't a loophole. That was a whole front door that he walked out of with any insinuation that he was going to be okay with the election should it not go the way that they wanted to. Just call a thing a thing. Senator Warnock, come knock this dude out.
Listen, let me tell you something this morning. Black men are not going to vote for Donald Trump in any significant numbers. There'll be some. We're not a monolith.
We certainly are not a monolith, because it's one over there right now, lying on CNN.
Black folk in general, and black men in particular, consider who Donald Trump is, as they consider the fact that this is the man who literally took out a full-page ad in the New York Times saying that these young teenagers back in the 1980s who were accused of a horrific crime should receive the death penalty. And then when it was proven that the exonerated five, the Central Park Five, were actually innocent, Donald Trump has shown no deal of concern about what they went through, no bit of contrition about it.
I have to challenge you right there, Senator Warnock. he definitely has shown concern with what has happened, not specifically to the Central Park Five, but just with black men and the criminal justice system. When he was out here trying to advocate for their vote and get sympathy for his situation, that's when all of a sudden he identified with people like that.
He's doubled down on his position. This is who he is. And black men know that as they watch him deal with his own criminal problems and concerns, that the criminal justice system certainly doesn't handle them the way it handles him. On the other hand, you've got Kamala Harris, who in her work as a prosecutor found ways to give people a path towards a better life, who has spent her whole life as a lawyer, as a senator, and now as vice president, centering the concerns of ordinary people. Again, we're not a monolith, but this idea that large numbers of black men are going to vote for Donald Trump is not going to happen.
We certainly not a monolith, because the Cartier family's still out here.
They stole the elections in 2020. We shouldn't be surprised.
Listen, it's important for folks to show up. And that's something that I push and preach every election, that your vote is your voice. Your voice is your human dignity. Not to show up is a vote. Well, I've already told you what I think about that. I don't think that there'll be significant numbers of black men showing up for Donald Trump. And I think as we push through the election, it's important to continue to help people to understand the work that we have done, capping the cost of prescription drugs. We've done some $170 billion in student debt relief that's helped some 5 million Americans. Donald Trump wants to end that. And so the question is, do you want your grandmother to continue to receive $35 insulin, or do you not? And the stark contrast in this race is what it is. We'll continue to make the case. And again, I believe that Georgians are going to show up for Kamala Harris the same way they showed up for me.
Well, let's just unpack that. We understand in practice that sitting out the election, or voting third party for that matter, ostensibly helps Trump. But that would only be true if the natural inclination for just a normal-brained adult would be to vote for the Democrats. Like, literally part of their plan and agenda for winning any election is to suppress the vote, because when turnout is high, they literally cannot win. And even when it's low, they will still lose the popular vote. I just had to throw that in there. It's just something that's been bothering me. I mean, you don't even try and make it decent for people. You got people out here saying they gonna support a man representing a platform even they know is garbage. You know how much they gotta be laughing at you. That's who Obama was talking about.
Listen, I have a great deal of respect for President Obama, and he wasn't talking to all black men. He was talking to men who are talking about sitting on the sidelines. We got to talk to everybody because our coalition is broad. But at the end of the day, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are doing the work that every candidate has to do. You got to earn people's vote. And so that's the work that they're doing in a moment like this. When you present a program which eliminates the amount of student debt that we've seen happen, this closes the racial wealth gap. When you address the importance of historically black colleges and universities, we've invested some $16 billion in HBCUs. As a proud graduate of Morehouse College, and we have College Sunday later this morning, I know firsthand the work that this administration is doing. And I think that we've got to continue to deliver that message to the voters. And in the end, I think that folks will recognize how much is really at stake in this moment. And that the choice really is not between voting and not voting. Not to vote is a vote. It pushes Donald Trump that much closer to the White House. And that's something that we cannot afford to happen.
And he's right about that HBCU funding. You know how bad it is that they were out here bragging about things like HBCU funding and black unemployment that were better under the other guy? I mean, do you know how bottom of the barrel they have to get to try and find stuff, to try and make a case when they bragging for stuff that was better under the other guy? That's like Jerry Jones bragging that the Cowboys just showed up.
But every now and then you do some right things, and at the end of the day, you add it up, and the rights give you a better spot than the wrongs.
Which they kind of didn't. They kind of didn't show up to that, actually. Shout out to the D. You gave us all a good time on that one. And by the way, that is only dwarfed by the good time I just had by actually fact-checking Byron Donalds and administering that thrashing at the hands of Senator Warnock. I think Senator Warnock got to have some more bouts. You got to have some more bouts, because I don't know that Senator Warnock has ever taken an L. You know, him and Pete Buttigieg out here undefeated. The two of them and Jasmine Crockett and AOC, that's like the four horsemen. And by the way, CNN, they all available. You don't just have to have Byron Donalds and Scout Jennings out there lying every day. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and also a special thank you to all of our subscribers and members here on the channel. I'm just about to roll out the first batch of badges and emoji, and I'm taking your suggestions on what you think would look nice in the chat or look nice next to your name when you leave a comment. Email me at reese@reesewaters.com and let me know what your suggestion would be. We are on the precipice of 200K. What do we do? We throw a party? We do a special live? You know what? I'm gonna surprise you.
Brought to us by Joe Biden and Kamala
Not
Harris.
true.
It is very
Not
true.
true.
Even Larry Summers said it. You can
Not
interrupt all you want, but it's the facts. I was in the House. You were not. I know exactly what happened.
I know what you were doing in the House,
But again, I'm gonna move on.
I know what you were doing in the House. You ain't talking about the House of Representatives. You talking about the House. Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page, and a warm welcome to all my brand new members. More on that later on in the video. Now, y'all heard what Trump said.
The liberal left wants to destroy him, and they want to destroy our country. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, he's a great congressman. Would you say, Mike, that if you were in charge, you would say, oh, please, don't touch them, let them rob your store. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately.
Now, it's a time like this, I would love to hear from the Trump is just like us crowd. I would love to hear from the Trump for social justice crowd, and I especially want to hear from the Black Trump supporters. This your mans? Huh? This your mans? Advocating for the one violent day and the one violent hour. Because I'm just curious, where you think that violence taking place? Huh? You think they taking that violence into the suburbs? Huh? You think they taking that violence to the farms? Because I can tell you exactly who appears in all of the violence and crime footage that appears on right-wing media. We've seen all the B-roll that Fox News has. Oh, he wasn't done? There was more?
Only a mentally disabled person could have allowed this to happen to our country.
That is crazy and so out of character for Trump to talk bad about the disabled.
And now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Just as they were saying that he needs to rein in all of his rhetoric, we get this. crazy that I haven't seen this covered the way that it would have been covered in any other election said by any other candidate. And to think, we still mock Sarah Palin to this day for saying that she could see Russia from her window. Howard Dean yelled, but we got this dude advocating for one violent night and calling his opponent mentally disabled. And it just gets characterized as sharpening his rhetoric. Well, given that the media has given Trump so much coverage for just how unhinged he's actually been, naturally, his surrogates won't want to show up to have to answer. Huh? He did? We just had a whole debate where they didn't even ask J.D. Vance about it, but Byron Donalds wants to apologize for it?
Donald Trump taps into American carnage as voting gets underway across the country. And is he getting policy ideas from a B-list Hollywood movie? One day of whatever you want, I guess. It is a literal movie plot, but real life policy?
Well, it's not policy. And this is red meat for the base because they don't ask questions about, well, how would you do this and how would this work? It's just red meat, and I think it works for the base.
They don't need to care how would you do this and how would this work, because they know it's not going to be done or be worked on them.
It reminded me of The Purge first, and then it reminded me more of The Hunger Games, where the ruling class puts a bunch of people together every year and says, you guys kill each other, to show control and instill fear in an electorate, in the citizenry, if we're comparing movies. But this is real life. And this is the kind of thing that turns off the people he needs to win. People in swing states who are undecided, who want to hear policy solutions, not stuff like this.
The Purge and Hunger Games is good. The first thing I thought of was The Warriors. And the second thing I thought of was The Walking Dead. Also because they can only have one black person at a time.
I mean, but in all seriousness, Congressman, I mean, is he suggesting that cops can do whatever they want for a day and that will actually solve the problem?
No, he's not. And even the clip you just played, what's it, 5 seconds out of, for Donald Trump, an hour speech? I think a lot of times people say, oh, well, he said this. For 5 seconds, yes, he says things that are unscripted. He goes off the cuff. He's not serious. There's no policy behind that. But I think where the American people truly are is they at least want to hear what somebody is thinking full-throated versus Kamala Harris, who is completely scripted.
So let me get this straight, Byron Donalds. How long do you have to speak to all of a sudden get the free 5 seconds where you get to later just say you weren't serious? Huh? Also, it was not 5 seconds, but I'm just curious. So if I do a 20-minute video and somebody objects to something, I could just say I wasn't serious after the fact, or do I qualify at the 20 minutes? Like, how does the BS program work?
Like badly scripted.
I guess I wonder,
and there's nothing coming out of her.
What is the policy then? If it's not that, then what is actually the solution?
He wants to make sure that police are supported.
So let me get this straight, Byron Donalds. So your characterization of Kamala is that she is scripted, but your defense of Donald Trump is that sometimes he goes off the cuff and that's where he makes mistakes when he's not on his script.
So they're upholding the law. In every city in our country, I was in Duane Reade last night here in New York, just trying to get razor blades so I can get a fresh shave for today.
That's a lie. Why you lying, Byron? Why you lying? You know you was in there to get Beijing. You know you was in there to get Beijing. We both know it. And the reason you couldn't find it is because you bought it all. In fact, Beijing is only available in DC when Byron Donalds is in Florida. I know, because I needed something for the top.
I had to press the button for the attendant to come to open up the case just so I can get a pack of razor blades. That's what's going on in every major city of America. Americans are fed up with that kind of stuff. It happens because you do have a dereliction of support for law enforcement in too many cities in America. And so there's a major angst going on amongst the American people.
Now, so was there no shoplifting during the Trump years? Was there no shoplifting during the Trump years? Or was it that the police felt supported, so they would go into the dollar store and crack heads over you stealing balloons during the Trump years. Like which one of those terrible arguments are you making right now?
Donald Trump said a comment for 5 seconds. That's not setting policy. That's revealing the angst of the American people.
That's not setting policy. That's sending a message. That's what that's doing, which, by the way, supersedes policy.
Donald Trump has a history of saying inflammatory things. It's not just those 5 seconds, Congressman, and you know that. He has a history that goes back from the time when he first ran for office, and he's talked about telling people in his rallies to knock the crap out of him. He had a history, even when I was working here at CNN, he was telling people how CNN is the enemy of the people. And you know what? A guy named Cesar Sayoc sent pipe bombs to this building, or not to the other building that CNN used to be in, and tried to kill people. Donald Trump says things that get people hurt. When he talked about liberating Michigan, what happened? Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, they tried to kidnap her. There's a plot to try to kidnap her. Every time he says something that's just 5 seconds, inflammatory statements like that, what happened when we have January 6th? It's because Donald Trump opened his big mouth and wouldn't shut up. And I wish at some point, Congressman, you would at least have the courage to stand up to your dear leader and tell him when he's doing wrong.
Now, credit to you, Keith Boykin, for bringing it back into Byron Donald's kitchen. But what you are ignoring is that he had qualified for the 5 second BS in a lot of those instances, because he had talked for hours and then he gets to disavow select things after the fact based on what Byron Donalds think should be excused because of how long he spoke. So I know he's going to respond to you now, but I'm just telling you, that's where he's going with it.
Don't just apologize for him. Don't just apologize for him. Are we going to talk about the rhetoric directed at Donald Trump? Because we do realize that he's been trying to kill.
Are you going to continue to try not to answer the question?
Oh, the rhetoric directed at Donald Trump. Oh, you mean the accountability? The accountability. You mean holding him responsible for his words and actions? Yeah, I can get how that could feel like oppression. I get how that. Yeah, when you've been getting a free ride as long as he has, no doubt. Right, Donald Trump, just like us.
Hang on 1 second. Let's talk about that. Let's actually talk about rhetoric, because here's what Trump supporters have been saying.
People hear this violent, dangerous rhetoric, and we're going to have a copycat. It's coming. And it's just unfortunate. Somebody's going to get killed.
I'd say that's pretty strong evidence that the left needs to tone down the rhetoric and needs to cut this crap out. Somebody's going to get hurt by it.
It works when we see the liberal elite literally trying to take out a political opponent. Now, do they cause it? Absolutely, they contribute to it. They're complicit with it because of their words.
Where did y'all find Tim Scott from? Wow. Let me find out. Y'all must have went over the river and through the woods. Y'all went to Narnia and found Tim Scott. I ain't seen Tim Scott since that show wedding.
So according to those gentlemen there, saying that Trump is a threat to democracy is violent rhetoric, but Trump saying, let's just have one really violent day, that is not violent rhetoric?
No, he didn't say one violent day. That's not even what he said. But let's be honest about what he actually said. Play it again. Trump again. Play it again, because he didn't even say that. But go ahead.
Can we play it again?
I want to hear.
All these stores go out of business, right? They don't pay rent. The city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately.
How is that not violent rhetoric?
We have to acknowledge the reality going on in every city in America.
Ooh, that's awkward. That is awkward. Credit to you, Abby, for lining him up like that. No, not like his beard. He didn't line that up. He painted that on.
Not answering the question. Not answering the question.
That is answering the question, because the reality in America, hold on, Keith, the reality in America is that crime is massively up.
Crime is not massively up. That's a lie.
You can bang the table all you want,
You're
but that's
lying,
not true,
Congressman. You're lying.
We already know that there are cities.
The FBI just released data this week that crime is going down.
We already know that.
Oh my God! Abby, why do you let this man lie on your national television?
Look at Scott! Look at Scott! Scott just looking around. He like, hey, I was prepared to lie for Trump, but I didn't want to be caught in this crossfire. So I'm just gonna let him fight for right now. I was gonna break it up, but I ain't getting in this. I ain't catching no strays.
Because you're lying to the American people now. And so I want to be respectful of what you're trying to say.
Hang on a second.
Go
If
ahead.
you would just let me
Go ahead.
talk, I will explain exactly what you want me to explain. We have the data. The FBI literally put out data today showing that crime is down this year for the first 6 months of the year. But look at the trend line. Okay, crime is down in all these different categories. And then there is a trend line that shows that crime is going down.
Now I'll say this. How would I react in this situation? Like Keith Boykin. Exactly like, I don't understand why there isn't more reaction like this. For you to sit there and lie to my face, like what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Like, am I here to just debate whether the sky is purple? Is that my life's work? Is that what I went to school for? Is to sit here and try and convince you the sky not purple?
Why do you continue to say that?
I do think, though, in some
I'll
place.
let you get in, but I do want the congressman to answer that question.
If you look at crime rates in the United States since the pandemic to this current period in time, crime is up.
Okay,
over the years, crime is up. Violent crime is up.
Look at the chart.
I'm looking right
okay?
now. I'm looking right now.
Crime is on its way down. It has not returned to pre-pandemic levels yet, but it is trending down.
Well,
That is a fact.
I'm looking at your chart right now. 2021 is when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came into office. Look at that spike up in violent crime. What Donald Trump...
Do you see where it went after 2021?
Abby, this is important.
Now, what could there have been in 2020 that caused crime to drastically decrease and then go right back up to pre-pandemic? What could it have... What were y'all doing in 2020? Was it TikTok? No, because TikTok was here before 2020. I'm trying to figure out, oh man, that's crazy. 2020, what do you think of when you think of 2020? I tell you this, I got married in 2020, so I lost the freedom to do crime. That's more of a personal reflection. What happened to society in 2020? That is, man, I think it was the Lakers winning the championship. I think the Lakers won the championship. And then all of a sudden, because LeBron won the championship at 84, all of a sudden, all these guys that will otherwise be doing crime decided they were going to work on their fundamentals. You know what I mean? Decided maybe it's not too late. You know what I mean? I know I did.
This is important, but
I don't understand.
this is really important.
Crime is going down. And
put the chart back up. Put the chart back up. Put it back up.
Crime.
Look at
where it's going.
2021, which is when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came into office in 2021.
Okay.
The trend line is up for violent crime in the United States of America.
And you know what?
That is an empirical fact.
I'm not going to sit here
That's your chart. It's not even mine. I just saw it for the first time. I just saw the chart.
I'm not going to sit here and let him lie on television.
But CNN will. CNN absolutely will let him sit up here on Lounge. In fact, I think that's the brand at this point. And Keith Boykin, if you want to come back, you better get on board.
We have to, Congressman,
and I'm sorry,
just give me 1 second,
Abby.
please.
Go ahead, of course.
We have to deal in facts here.
Thank you.
Okay, it's clear as day. The FBI put out statistics for the first half of this year.
Yeah.
The trend lines are going down in all of those different categories: murders, rapes, robberies, property crime, aggravated assaults. For 2023, the trend line is going down. If you don't believe the FBI, independent people who look at these numbers say the same thing. There was a spike in crime during the pandemic. That is true. Nobody's disputing that. But the reality is that crime is going down. You don't have to twist the facts to make the case that people feel unsafe. Just say people feel unsafe.
I'm not even twisting the facts.
Why are you giving him that grace? Huh? Why are you giving? Call a spade a spade. He came on here to lie on your show. Why are we pretending? That's worse than him pretending that he lined up his beard. That is worse than him pretending he went into CVS looking for racists.
You put up a chart. I just looked at the chart myself. The bottom line was from 2021. Well, what happened in 2021? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came into office. This is when Democrat politicians were all the rage for defund the police.
This had nothing to do with that.
Can I finish my point? Because I let you speak. No, but you can't.
You really did not. You monopolized the entire conversation for the most part.
Keith, you yelled across the table, didn't even let me make my point. I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. You don't want to hear the truth.
You don't want to hear the truth, brother. You don't want to. Hey, brother. You don't want to hear the truth. You don't want to. Hey, Keith. I know what you need to do. You need to tag in that brother from Atlanta. That's what you need to do.
Don't forget about where you from. Don't paint us a picture. Don't tell us that we can't educate our kids on the opportunity. You're talking about vouchers. You're talking about things that's still going to cost us more money.
My brother. Hold on. Calm down, though. My man, chill.
The truth is up there on the
problem is you don't want to hear the truth.
You can't handle the truth. You and the truth been divorced when you left your first wife, Byron Donalds.
Finish your thought,
All I'm saying is similar.
I don't even know why you have him on the stage tonight.
Similar to inflation, because I'm bringing facts to you.
Because you're lying.
Because similar to inflation, in 2024, the trend lines are coming down slowly. But that ignores the reality of 2021, 2022, 2023. You know what the American people are concerned about, which Donald Trump is speaking to? Massive inflation brought to us by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
True.
It is very
Not
true.
true.
Even Larry Summers said it. You can interrupt all you want, but it's the facts. I was in the House. You were not. I know exactly what happened.
I know what you were doing in the House,
But again, I'm gonna move on.
I know what you were doing in the House. He ain't talking about the House of Representatives. He talking about the House. He ain't talking about the House of Representatives. I saw what you did, Keith Boykin. You ain't slick. I support it.
Hang tight, Keith. I'm gonna finish. You have massive inflation created by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Not
true. The same chart you just put up, 2021 through 2023, crime rates going up, and then slowly tapering off in 2024. And then we're supposed to sit here and act like, oh, happy days are here again because the trend lines are going down. The trend lines over the last 4 years are massively up. That's what Donald Trump is speaking to, and that's why the American people have serious issues about what's going on in America.
But I will say this, the trend lines are not just going down, but the crime is going back to very close to what it was before the pandemic.
Now here's the problem with that, is the cleanest audio you get from that entire segment are Byron Donalds' lies. That's the problem with that. And that is why I appreciate that Keith Boykin at least tried to jump in and prevent him from being able to spew these things, because as you're just flipping the channels, you either hear Abby Phillip quietly presenting the actual record and statistics or Byron Donalds loudly lying. And that is why I appreciate Keith being there to at least break that up a little bit. But at this point, this is what it is, and this is CNN's brand. To answer Keith's question of why you let him come on here and lie like this, because that's what it is. That is literally what the platform is. Now, I think we also discovered something else. I think they need a two-man show. I think they need a two-man show. I think that Keith should be present whenever Byron makes an appearance to just react just like a general black person would to the words that are coming out of Byron Donalds' mouth. Because he nailed it. He pretty much nailed it. And you know what? I know Keith is busy. He got a lot going on. He don't have to, he can't show up everywhere that Byron Donalds is lying. You could just hire somebody to come in from the outside. They'll react just like Keith when Byron starts talking. I guarantee you. I know I would. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I very much appreciate the support. And as I mentioned previously, we got membership now. Yes, it was something that you guys suggested, and a suggestion that I took and moved forward with. And it's something I'm really super excited about. That's going to give me the ability to give people early access to videos and ad-free experience, and also be able to record things on the go when I'm not necessarily in my perfect environment. I have something I just want to drop in real quick. I have the ability to do that. The ability to give you guys deep dive investigation pieces, some of the stuff that may not necessarily be topical, but stuff that deserves your attention. And of course, some of the uncensored content as well, because Lord knows The kind of stuff that I have to cut out of my videos can make pieces in and of themselves. Well, now I have the ability to do all of that. So sincere thank you to everybody that has joined the channel already. I can't wait to see where this goes. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna cherry pick the bloodbath thing. I know that he said so many other things around and go right along with that comment, and time prohibited us from revealing all of the things that he said, but yeah, that was a nice try. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, here I am thinking we weren't going to hear from Byron Donalds for a while after he got knocked out by Jasmine Crockett in that debate undercard.
He can go and cower in a corner, or he can show up and be lit on fire.
Now, there are a lot of things that we can blame Donald Trump for, but finally giving Byron Donalds his buttered biscuits might be number one on the list.
I'd say, Mr. Congressman, oh, look who we have. Byron, stand up, please. Superstar of the future. He's already a superstar, but he's a superstar of the future. Byron Donalds, Florida. Wow, that's nice to have you here. That's good. He's great. He's great. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. That one is smart. You have smart ones and you have some that aren't quite so good.
Because ever since he got a taste of them biscuits, he has been acting brand new.
Joining us right now is Republican Congressman from Florida, Trump campaign surrogate Byron Donalds. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Bouncing off the conversation that Harry and Sarah were just having, how undecided do you think the diminishing number of undecided voters really are this election at this point?
I believe they're somewhat undecided. I think they're juggling through the realities of America. Number one, the economy, this massive inflation created by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
Ooh, we are starting off light. Okay, here's the problem, Byron Donalds. If you actually showed up at work, you would have actually heard Jasmine Crockett actually talking to the authors of Project 2025. And they said something a whole lot different about the inflation situation.
We're not going to pretend in here. We're going to work with facts and not fiction. So I also want to talk about inflation really quickly with you, Ms. Perryman, because we've talked about it a lot. I'm just curious to know, is the inflation that we just struggled through, was that global or was that limited to the United States?
Global.
Global. Seemingly, it was attached to this thing called the global pandemic. Is that correct?
That is my understanding.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't just the United States.
No.
Okay, so it wasn't just a matter of the Biden-Harris administration and the United States is struggling, right?
I think the United States actually fared better than the rest of the world.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we are. Correct?
I think so, yeah.
All right, but inflation still hurts, and so that's why we have a candidate that has an actual plan instead of concepts of a plan.
They not giving Byron his notes. See, Byron, you would have known that if you wasn't off getting your Beijing filled in.
The immigration problems in our country are real. They're looking at that. But then I also do believe they're having to juggle with also a lot of the rhetoric that's out there in terms of where the country's going and who's going to protect the country. And I think if you look at the facts are very clear that Donald Trump addresses the issues that concerns Americans, the economy, our borders, and our foreign policy.
Oh, yeah. He addresses the issues that concern America, all right.
You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know, this was caused by their horrible energy wind. They want wind all over the place. But when it doesn't blow, we have a little problem. This was caused by energy. This was really caused by energy.
And what Vice President Harris is talking about is not those issues. She's talking about wanting to look forward, or unfortunately, there's still a lot of negative rhetoric coming from her campaign, basically saying, her and her surrogates, that Donald Trump is some threat to democracy, which is a flat out lie.
Wow, even Byron Donalds is leaving Trump's rallies early, because if he would have stayed, he would have heard this.
Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed, it'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians.
And that lie can be proven to be a lie because he was already president of the United States. The country was thriving when he was president of the United States.
Oh yeah, he was president of the United States, now that you mention it. It's weird why they would say he's a threat to democracy when he was already president of the United States.
Not gonna take it anymore. This is our country.
And there were no new wars when he was president of the United States.
In terms of rhetoric, do you think Donald Trump, in the Trump campaign, do you think they have a problem with rhetoric as well?
No, and I don't. I think especially in light of the fact that there has now been a second assassination attempt on the life of President Trump, I do not believe so. What we are seeing now is that you do have radical elements of the Democrat Party.
Man, he don't watch the news neither. Wow, that's crazy. Because I thought that national news goes to Florida. Well, he need to spend more time in D.C. We get the national. They have actually done investigations into those people. So you might want to try again, trying to point finger over at the left. Byron, you still mad you got chased out of the DNC?
I'm here at the DNC. Is this Mr. Fascist Byron Donalds? In the flesh? What the?
You gotta let that go, man.
People who have been radicalized by the hateful rhetoric from Democrat officials, talking about how he's a threat to democracy, but that's simply not true. Talking about how he wants to bring in Project 2025. We know that is not true. That is a lie.
Oh, okay. So he will in fact say that none of this is happening then, right? If it's a lie, then he'll say, no, we are not going to do any of this. I disavow all the ideas in Project. No, we're not. Just, I don't know what it is. Oh, okay.
So with that being said, Ms. Perryman, I'm just curious, and this is yes or no. Is Trump's name ever mentioned in Project 2025? Yes or no? Just yes or no. I got you.
Within the document itself,
yes.
There are a number of references to the former administration.
So is Trump's name mentioned just one time?
I believe it's mentioned more.
Okay. 5 times.
I haven't counted.
Oh, okay. Well, if I told you that his name is mentioned approximately 312 times, would you have any reason to dispute that?
I don't have any reason.
Donald Trump has distanced himself from that. The Heritage Foundation has said he has nothing to do with it, but they say these things anyway.
Man, I wonder why they would say these things anyway, saying that he has nothing to do with it. Maybe because they actually read it. Man, Byron Donalds out here giving an interview. He don't watch the news. He don't go to work. He ain't even read Project 2025 to see Trump in there 321 times. But apparently I need to run for congressman in Florida. I could do that. All he does is get his beard lined up and fake a Jamaican accent.
What Donald Trump has been talking about is we're going to fix our borders. We're going to have a great economy again. We're going to get out of these conflicts. We're going to make America great again. That is his rhetoric. So I think if you compare the nastiness from Kamala Harris's campaign and from the Democrat Party compared to what we've been talking about really for the last 9 years, but specifically the last year and a half in this campaign, no, I do not agree that it is the same rhetoric. There's no moral equivalency in the rhetoric between these two campaigns.
Now that I agree with. That I agree with, Byron Donalds. You finally have made a good point. There is no moral equivalency.
Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. If I don't win this election, and the Jewish people would really have a lot to do with that if that happens, because at 40%, that means 60% of the people are voting for the enemy.
Whoever heard you get indicted
for interfering with a presidential election where you have every right to do it. You get indicted and your poll numbers go up. When people get indicted, your poll numbers go down.
I think any serious person would also say, Congressman, that Donald Trump is a source of heated and dangerous rhetoric over months and years. I mean, even Republicans who support him and are voting for him this election have basically begged him to tone it down.
Winning formula for President Trump is very plain to see. It's fewer insults, more insights, and that policy contrast.
Donald Trump just needs to focus on the issues. Hit her with her policies first.
Don't call her stupid and all kinds of names. Stay on message.
Stop questioning the size of her crowds and start questioning her position.
Quit whining about her. It's not going to win talking about what race Kamala Harris is.
So if Republicans who even support you say that you've got a problem, you need to tone it down. You've got a mayor in Springfield, Ohio saying you guys need to tone it down because we now have bomb threats on schools in our area.
As the mayor of Springfield, Ohio, recognize the significance of former President Donald Trump's upcoming visit to our community in the coming weeks has been announced. We are committed to ensuring that the event proceeds safely and smoothly for both the residents and visitors. We are working closely with law enforcement and first responders to ensure public safety remains our top priority. While the visit brings attention to our city, it also represents logistical challenges that require careful planning and allocation of our resources to minimize disruption of daily life. As a visit from the former president will undoubtedly place additional demands on our safety infrastructure. Should he choose to change his plans, it would convey a significant message of peace to the city of Springfield.
There's a problem also, in the general rhetoric of the campaign that the term that is often criticized, but that if you want to say both sides should address. But right, logically?
What the hell did you just say? Say it with your chest, Kate. There isn't a single other member, even in your own party, that will show up here today and sell that nonsense that you selling. You got to get you a better corner or a better cart because your goods are trifling. You are the person outside the stadium selling everyday goods like socks and toilet paper, and they not even in the package. That is what you look like coming up here and trying to tell me that Donald Trump's rhetoric hasn't been problematic.
Well, actually, let's dig into this a little bit more. Thank you for bringing this up. Yes, we've heard from the Springfield mayor, and nobody wants bomb threats or anything like that. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have been talking about reports coming out of Springfield. J.D. Vance represents the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I've corrected this for the record as well. He does not, in fact, represent the state of Ohio. All J.D. Vance represents is Maybelline and Smokey Eye. That is all he represents. He don't even represent his own family.
Look, I love my wife so much. I love her because she's who she is. Obviously, she's not a white person, and we've been attacked by some white supremacists over that. But I love Usha.
J.D. Vance represents the state of Ohio. He's talking about things that his constituents have brought to him.
Wait. Not all constituents, because don't sound like he been too sensitive to the constituents on the left or the constituents that are brown. It don't sound like he really cares much about those constituents. In fact, I would love for some of these constituents to come forward with some of these supposedly confirmed reports. Y'all have yet to produce a name. Do you realize how quickly they would run somebody up to the news media if they had a single person who would go public with an account of cat-eating Haitians? Really, do you realize how fast they would be on Fox News? Quite frankly, I'm surprised they haven't made one up. I really am surprised they haven't just fabricated one at this particular point in time. I know that's not beyond them.
But let's compare that to the fact that Kamala Harris in a debate last week, she lied about Donald Trump's bloodbath comments Why does she say that? Because she wants to invoke a negative energy around the campaign of Donald Trump, frankly, to affect these undecided voters that we talked about at the top.
There
What
could
does
be
she
a
want
lot
to
of
talk
fact.
about?
I mean,
The same,
Congressman, you and I have
hold
gone
on,
back and
hold
forth
on.
a lot
The
about
same lie
like fact checking
Charlottesville.
that can happen.
Kate,
Yeah.
Kate, can you acknowledge that Kamala Harris lied about the Charlottesville comments again? Something that even Snopes has debunked and said is fake news, that it is wrong, that his statements were taken out of context. Those are the direct lies coming from Kamala Harris.
Okay, a couple things here, Byron Donalds. When it comes to the bloodbath comment, I actually give you a half point on that one, because even I thought Donald Trump says enough problematic things that you didn't have to take one comment that he made out of context. But the reason why I objected to them taking and running with bloodbath is because he had said so many other problematic things. Is this the same guy who said we probably won't even have a country if I don't win this election?
We also have to run our country. It's nice to be nice. It's nice to be good. We got to run our country. Our country's in trouble. Our country might not survive. I'll tell you what, if we don't win this election, I don't think our country's going to survive. I will say it. And I've never said that publicly, I don't think.
Wrong.
If we don't win on November 5th, I think our country is going to cease to exist. It could be the last election we ever have. I actually mean that.
But wait, there's more.
Fairly, this story. Because you people don't want to talk about the border. You don't want to talk about the bad things that are going on in our country. We're going to end up not having a country. You're not going to have any media. These monstrous abuses of power. The moment I win election, and we're going to win, we got to win. If we don't win, we don't have a country. We don't have a country.
Is this the same guy that said we would probably change the name of states?
We have to win in November, or we're not going to have Pennsylvania. They'll change the name. They're going to change the name of Pennsylvania.
This the same guy that said we would have the next get together in Venezuela? Oh yeah, I'm just going to cherry pick the bloodbath thing. I know that he said so many other things around and go right along with that comment, and time prohibited us from revealing all of the things that he said, but yeah, that was a nice try. And funny you should mention the whole Charlottesville thing, because you guys love to make an issue about what he did or didn't say. How about this being the most pertinent issue?
There are real-life white racist groups in America that are active and identified by the FBI publicly that are self-proclaimed racist. We don't have to guess about Donald Trump being racist. We have actual self-proclaimed racists in America. All we have to do is ask them, who do they think is best for their agenda? Why do all of those groups like him so much? Do you think it's his economic policy? Do you think that these people get together and pick a candidate based off of economic policy? And if you're a white person that's considering voting for Donald Trump that doesn't consider themselves to be racist, what does it feel like knowing that you walk in the voting box and you hit the same button as some of the most abhorrently, flagrantly racist Americans? What does that feel like, being lockstep with them?
So if you're going to talk about the invective put into this campaign that Kamala Harris and her campaign has done, trying to invoke a negative response from voters in our country, versus Donald Trump talking about issues, whether it be in a city, or quite frankly, you could bring up Aurora, Colorado, or you could bring up Denver, Colorado, that have been overrun by illegal immigrants.
There are
in our
lots of things
country.
can be brought up, which is also, if you're talking about lies and you're talking about comparisons, you can talk about a long list of lies. We could walk through it. I don't think it is to the benefit of voters right now for me to walk through to remind them of the lies that Donald Trump has told in the past. Case in point, eating dogs and pets, or lots of other things.
No, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable, CNN. You're not going to have Byron Donalds sit up here and say, comment a lot about X, Y, and Z, and then respond with, I mean, Donald Trump lied about so much stuff that we don't even have time to sit. No, list him. Make him sit there and eat his food. He wanted to call somebody else out for lying. You sit there and eat. I want you to put him on the split screen during a fact check. That is what I want to see right there. Just make him have to sit there and pick the little Beijing out of his beard and trying to figure out exactly who he gonna scam next.
For millions, 26 million at the latest count, and growing, millions. And there was never any business entity involved except public corruption and a pay-for-play scheme.
Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I especially want to thank those of you that have been emailing me at reese@reesewaters.com. I do look at it, and I wanted to say I've taken a number of suggestions just in the past week. I think half the videos were suggested from emails that I received from you guys, so keep them coming. And just because I may not be able to respond doesn't mean that I don't see it, and it doesn't mean that it's not impactful, because the email and the feedback that I get from you guys shapes my perception of the people that are consuming my content. So it really does impact the direction that we take moving forward. So just because I may not respond to your email doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. So thank you guys very much. Of course, we have the website, reesewaters.com. There's some new merch on the website as well, so be on the lookout for that. And by the way, if you get some merch, if you get a shirt or hat or whatever the case may be, send me a photo of yourself with it. Maybe put in the title merch pick or something like. I could think of a way better subject title. Those of you that have signed up for my newsletter, use the portal on my website. I appreciate you guys for doing that. There'll be a new newsletter that is going out shortly, and in it will be updates on channel membership. That's right, something that you guys have been mentioning to me for a long time. We're finally on the precipice of it, so you can get all the details and the membership. Again, you can sign up on my website or send me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. There is so much on the horizon, and I, for one, am extremely grateful that you're along with me on this ride.
If you're black from any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of.
You want to tell us to be grateful for centuries of bondage, but then want to turn around and say we would be doing better if we were black from any other country? Y'all got to get some consistency here. Welcome to Racist of the Week, where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. You can email me at reese@reesewaters.com. Now here I am thinking that our criminal justice system couldn't get any more goofy.
I never was, but now I am because you're shoving the down my throat.
Oh, I'm gonna have to talk about that. That wasn't even what I was referring to. Here I am thinking our criminal justice system couldn't get any more goofy and shameless and decrepit. And I open up my email and I get a message from Michael Brown hipping me to today's nominee, and shout out to you, Michael, Oakland County, Michigan Judge Kathleen Ryan. All right, put on the Summer Jam screen.
The Honorable Kathleen A. Ryan presiding.
Good morning. You may be seated.
After more than 13 years on the bench, Oakland County Chief Probate Pro Tem Judge Kathleen Ryan is out of her courtroom. Chief Probate Judge Linda Hallmark removed Judge Ryan from her docket last week, announcing that a complaint about internal allegations of unprofessional conduct was sent to the Judicial Tenure Commission. Judge Ryan was arrested in 2021 for domestic violence, but those charges were later dismissed. And now she's back in the headlines.
Well, if you're black from any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of.
Okay, I'm gonna have to stop us right there. Can y'all get y'all racism straight? Like, first you want to tell us to be grateful, right? Be grateful for slavery. Hey, what if you were still in Africa? What if you never came to America? We're the greatest country in the world. You want to tell us to be grateful for centuries of bondage, but then want to turn around and say we would be doing better if we were black from any other country? Y'all got to get some consistency here. I mean, really, the racism ranks is in total disarray. It's real bad. They need better leadership. This is what happens when Steve Bannon goes to jail.
The 7 investigators have obtained the recordings that county officials say prompted Judge Ryan's removal.
Oh, he's just I have no use for him. I can honestly say that. Okay, I'm not systemically racist. I'm a new racist.
Ooh, a judge. I can honestly say I'm not systemically racist. I'm a new racist. Okay, so if you are not systemically racist, you're saying that you take it upon yourself just to be racist. You don't just go along with the racist gravy train, because that would be systemically racist. You find ways to be racist independent of yourself. Okay, so you are a special racist. You are an independent thinker racist. You are a racist of your own creation. What, you want a cookie? I'll take things a judge should never say for 500, please. Hey, what judge you got? Oh, I got Ryan. Yeah, no, because she's not systemically racist. Nah, she wanted a new racist. Yeah, so I'm gonna be okay.
I can honestly say that. Okay, I'm not systemically racist. I'm a new racist. I never was, but now I am, because you're shoving the down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about. You're telling me who I am, and you've never met me. You.
Okay, Michigan, I'm going to have to go ahead and look at the qualifications to become a judge, because what she is saying is, I was never racist before, but now I am, because you're shoving it down my throat. She didn't say what it is. I can only imagine that it is calls to be treated like a whole human being, and acknowledgement of racism embedded in our country's fabric, like judges. So, because you're shoving this down my throat, now I'm racist because you're making allegations that you know nothing about. Now, what would those allegations be, Kathleen Ryan? Would those be allegations of racism? Which would now be correct, right? Right? Like those allegations, people who knew nothing about you claim that you were racist, and man, that hit dog hollered. Man, how did they know? Oh, come on. I can't even be a new racist in the privacy of my own courtroom in the United States of America. What is going on today? They just happened to hit on a new racist when they made the allegations of racism, which would make them, let's say it together, class, correct. Michigan, I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and diversify the qualification process to become a judge. It has to go well past reading, writing, and arithmetic. Because I know she didn't pass nothing else.
Hutton says the judge also used homophobic slurs about other elected officials.
We just gonna sprinkle a little homophobia on top. You know what I mean? Just sprinkle a little bit on, like Salt Bae. You know what I mean? I'm going, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you was offended. How about that? How about now? Now you might be asking yourself, well, how did all of this come to light? Well, I'm glad you asked.
Down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about. You're telling me who I am, and you've never met me. You. Oh, he's just I have no use for him.
She's made it a living hell in the past 6 years. I mean, it's been terrible. It's cost me relationships. I think it's affected my health. Can't sleep.
Attorney Edward Hutton is the Oakland County Probate Court Administrator. He's in charge of running everything that's not under the judge's purview inside one of the state's largest probate courts. Hutton alleges Judge Ryan has been calling him both during work and after hours for years. And Hutton says during those hours and hours of calls, Judge Ryan said highly inappropriate things.
Wait a minute. Did this man say that the judge calling him at all different hours saying inappropriate things has cost him relationships? Huh? Like, was he out at it? You know what? Hold on. I gotta take this. It's the judge want to be racist. Hold on.
you. You.
A jungle what?
Why did you start recording the calls?
I just felt like it wasn't going to change. Nothing's manipulated in it. It's conversations that I was a part of, and I'm absolutely willing to testify to the authenticity of every single one of them.
Hutton says the judge also used homophobic slurs about other elected officials. And that's not all.
A lot of times they were conversations about sexual encounters that she's having with various individuals. I mean, in intimate detail.
Wait. Run that back one more time. One more time. I don't think I heard you correctly.
A lot of times they were conversations about sexual encounters that she's having with various individuals. I mean, in intimate detail.
Wait, so she was calling him and talking about tricking off in addition to the racism and the homophobia? Sounds like I don't think anybody needs a friend more than she needs a friend. I mean, she needs a girlfriend in the worst way. Oh my gosh. I mean, the kind of things that your average girlfriend or, your man's or whoever would have access to if they wanted to go public is wild. And she basically treated this man in that capacity, irregardless of the fact that they work together. And these are not things that are becoming of a judge. She was willing to risk it all because she was in that desperate need of friendship. And listening to those recordings, I can only imagine why. I can only imagine why. Karens need love too. They do. Karens need love too, because this is what happens. This is what happens when they don't get it.
Hutton says for years he felt like he had to play along, and he says for years he was afraid to speak up.
I didn't want to lose my job, and I didn't want to be in her crosshairs. It's such a David and Goliath situation. I don't have the power. I'm not elected. I could get fired tomorrow.
On May 24th, Hutton says he sent Chief Judge Linda Hallmark a notice of sexual harassment.
For 3 months, nothing happened.
That's why on August 22nd, Hutton says he decided to send the recordings to the Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court, Oakland County Executive David Coulter, and other public officials. And he also contacted me.
Linda Hallmark. Yeah, I'm gonna need to holler at you. I'm gonna need to holler at you. So he sent you this in May? He sent you this in May, and nothing happened for 3 months until he went to the media. If you are paying attention, now I'm going to get back around to the ramifications for the criminal justice system. I'll land that plane at the end. But I just want to make this point clear. For 3 months, nothing happened until he went to the media. So you had a judge that was openly spewing this kind of racism and homophobia, okay, was recorded. The recording was sent up the chain of command to the property authorities, and they still did nothing, even though they knew that there was a judge who was presiding over the lives of these people, did nothing for 3 months until what happened? Until he went to the media. Now we get some movement when the public becomes aware and you become incapable of sitting on it, as apparently you were planning to. Whatever happens to Kathleen Ryan, I'm gonna need Linda Hallmark right behind her.
I just want to make it right. I haven't filed a lawsuit. I'm not looking for a payday. I want to keep my job and do it in peace. And I want the people in Oakland County that come to court to get a fair shake, to have their day in court, to have an unbiased trier of fact.
In that email, Hutton said Judge Ryan, quote, has vocalized her hate and contempt for various protected groups. Once the recordings were shared with those state and county officials, Judge Ryan was removed from her docket.
Now, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, who I'm assuming was unaware of this back in May, swiftly reacted to the investigation, released the following statement following the airing of the story. The story, as reported, is very disturbing. Fairness, a sense of impartial justice, and prudent judgment are essential values. our state's judges must exercise, and these allegations portray a grave failing of those values from a probate court bench. This case dramatically underscores the need for critical guardianship reform now, including requiring probate judges to provide reasoning for when they bypass family members in favor of professional guardians. My department and the Elder Abuse Task Force has worked closely with stakeholders for years now to develop and pass a legislative package that will provide long-needed reforms to the guardianship statutes. We've all recognized the dire need for these reforms, with the exception of the probate judges who stand opposed to this legislation. Shocking. I hope this investigation proceeds swiftly and helps illustrate why Michigan needs these essential and urgent reforms. Okay, so to those probate judges that stand opposed to the legislation, I would like to ask, after this story, if they still stand opposed to this legislation, and if so, why? Because one thing that is absolutely necessary, and one that's a conclusion that is inescapable from this, is major reforms are required, because we are at a point where our process for evaluating the people that are eligible to make decisions and determinations that affect people's lives cannot weed out open racists. Okay, new racists. Okay, maybe we were weeding out the old kind. We're not weaving out the new races. It's almost like performance enhancing testing when it comes to the Olympics and sports in general. Like we always got to stay in front of the testers. They always a step ahead. What is it? Just the race is just always a step ahead. This is an indicator that the racists are a step ahead. Okay, there are some holes in our process. Some of the new races are getting through. So obviously reform and new legislation is necessary. But whenever there's a story like this, my mind always goes to how many are out there. Clearly, we are incapable of weeding these people out entirely from being in positions of power in this country. Even the ones that have these kinds of open views, she just happened to have been particularly sloppy, particularly lonely, and particularly talkative. And so hers became public. But clearly, there are many others out there that are not as sloppy and that are not as lonely and have people that they can relay these kinds of views to that aren't going to record them and put them on the Suberdram screen. In addition, they have safeguards in place like the Linda Hallmarks that will sit on it for months and do nothing, even when they are identified. So you have to ask yourself, how many of these people are actually out there in positions of power in America today? It is extremely disturbing. Now, investigators did reach out to Judge Kathleen Ryan to talk to her about this. In a written statement, her attorneys Gerald Gleason and Thomas Cranmer said, "We respect the authority of the Michigan Supreme Court. However, we look forward to vindicating Judge Ryan in the appropriate forum." Vindicating how? I would love to know how you plan to vindicate, because she didn't have a Snickers. She didn't have a Snickers, so that she wasn't herself. Like, I don't want it. What she had bitter beer face, and she saw herself in the mirror. She just reacted angrily, blamed black people, called herself a new racist. I need to understand do you feel like she can be vindicated from multiple recordings expressing this open hostility and discriminatory feelings? I would love to know. I would love to know. Now, I did mention Linda Hallmark earlier, the Oakland County Chief Probate Judge. She said in a statement released last week that the allegations have been sent to the Judicial Tenure Commission, which will decide whether to investigate it further. And of course, if she has anything to do with it, it won't be, as evidenced by her actions prior. Investigators also spoke to Oakland County Probate Judge Daniel O'Brien. He said Judge Ryan's friends are supporting her and believe these statements are totally out of character. Well, that's interesting, because she wasn't talking about one particular black person. She wasn't talking about one particular gay person. She called herself a new racist. I don't know what you think character means, but she has clearly articulated the kind of character that she is. Let's go to her own words.
I can honestly say that. Okay, I'm not systemically racist. I'm a new racist.
Sounds like her character is pretty defined. And I would like to add, while we're talking about disturbing aspects of this story, okay, I alluded to how many others might be out there. Here you have another probate judge saying her friends are supporting her and believe these statements are totally out of character, in addition to the chief probate judge, Linda Hallmark, who did nothing for 3 months. So you see just how appalled the other judges are by one of their ranks expressing these kind of feelings. I'm gonna need some more investigation. We can know. I'm gonna need some more, because your reaction has led me to the place where, how normalized is this? Michigan, hey, you messed up, Daniel O'Brien. You messed up. Daniel O'Brien and Linda Hallmark, if you wanted me to believe that this was not representative of the Michigan probate judges, you handle it 1,000% wrong. But since we're talking about character, this is the same judge that was arrested in 2021 for domestic violence, but those charges were later dismissed. Why? Why were those charges dismissed? I'm just curious, because I see how you can have your other judges back when it comes to them being racist. So I'm wondering if that also had anything to do with getting her charges dismissed. I would also like to say it speaks to the character of the kind of person that you were trying to vindicate. Speaking of character, congratulations, Oakland County, Michigan Judge Kathleen Ryan. You are our Racist of the Week. Also, thanks to Michael Brown for emailing me this story. I also want to give a shout out to Consuelo Bradley, who emailed me about the Alabama Department of Corrections and some of the atrocities therein. I appreciate you sending that. I will absolutely look into that, because criminal justice and criminal justice reform is really the backbone of this particular channel. It predates a lot of the videos that you guys have been watching, so obviously that's something of great interest to me. Also of great interest to me, the fact that after I was sent this story, I happened to look it up, and for some reason the name Kathleen Ryan was lost on me. I couldn't remember the judge's name. So I looked up the name that I thought it was, which happened to be Catherine Smith. I just looked up Catherine Smith because I thought that was the name of it. And lo and behold, there is a Catherine Smith that has been accused of horrific racism. How is it that when I accidentally look up a person's name now in 2024, they too could be Racist of the Week? How bad has it gotten? How bad has it gotten? Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and especially those of you that have liked and subscribed to the page. Did y'all know I had a website? I know, it's so kind of old-fashioned these days. Yes, I have a website, reesewaters.com. There you'll find my most recent work, but also my past work if you want to know a little bit more about me. You'll also find a portal where you could sign up for my newsletter. You could also sign up by sending me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. You could also send me any suggestions for ideas, something I need to take a look at, or you just want to say hello. And by the way, if you go to the website now, you'll find a little something special. That's right, we got merch. There's mugs there, there's t-shirts there, there's hats there, repping street politics, troubled waters, and of course, Racist of the Week. Where would we be without Racist of the Week? I don't know that I would have any content.
A New York Times poll released this weekend shows Vice President Harris at 78% among Black likely voters. That's nearly 10 points behind what President Biden got that's according to the 2020 exit poll.
And as a Black man, yes, 0.1%, I resent Barack Obama accusing me of being a sexist and a race traitor.
Instead of focusing on Black
men. You need to focus on his real core base, the people who still continue to support him. That is white people.
Hi, my name is Reese Waters and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page, and special shout out to all our new members that have joined the channel. Also, I hope all of you guys enjoyed Denzel Washington weekend.
October 11th, October 12th, and 13th, and 14th, I was intoxicated. I drank all of those days. I drank in excess.
All right, y'all heard what Barack Obama said.
I remember buying diapers. I remember the first time I went in the store, right after Malia was born. I was like, what? That's how much diapers cost? I remember changing diapers. You think Donald Trump ever changed a diaper? Yeah. I almost said that, but I decided I shouldn't say it.
No, I mean the other video.
I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths, if you don't mind. Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
Okay, I just want to interrupt you right there, Barack Obama. You are selling yourself short. I don't think we've ever seen that kind of. There's a reason why that 2008 campaign is considered historic. I don't think that's the kind of thing that you're going to expect to be repeated. Also, while you're breaking down demographics that ain't been turning out, it ain't just the brothers.
So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome.
Well, you know what, President Obama, we actually have a phenomenon that I've noticed quite a bit here on this channel in our culture of the pick me. And those are people who do not value the common bond of experience they might share with someone else. They aspire to be the other thing, even if the other thing has made their life more difficult and in some cases intolerable. It is a new form of Stockholm syndrome, and it afflicts people across all strata of our society. We definitely see black pick-me's, and we definitely see women pick-me's. We even see poor white pick-me's. More on all of those later.
And achieves the second highest office in the land, and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to is committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act, so everybody's got health care, and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods.
You know what, President Obama, you are trying to use logic to reach a segment of the population that has up to this point dodged all of this freely available information. I mean, the kinds of people that will shout that Trump is the victim of a politicized justice system, even though he's been in court since the 70s. Or the fact that he's walking around free while being under this litany of cases and indictments, and they take the fact that he has that trail of cases behind him to be something they share in common, and not, the fact that he's walking around free. And if you had one of those things on your ankle, you would be in jail right now. There is no better illustration of a two-tier justice system, but some of us will actually claim free Trump is on the bottom tier. The kind of people that ignore his handling of the pandemic, despite the fact that it disproportionately affected black people. Or the people who will debate with you which of our candidates is a threat to democracy, despite the fact that one of them literally tried to overturn the last election. Logic ain't gonna be the thing that brings them home.
And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person.
Now, this part of my mind is unobjectionable. This man has the longest history of racism I've seen since American History X. In fact, you could cite the fact that he has provided a comfortable political home for people just like that.
There are real-life white racist groups in America that are active and identified by the FBI publicly that are self-proclaimed racist. We don't have to guess about Donald Trump being racist. We have actual self-proclaimed racists in America. All we have to do is ask them, who do they think is best for their agenda? Let's start at the very top. David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the KKK, who has very publicly many times reiterated their support for Donald Trump, saying that they are, quote, 100% behind the president's agenda, and has said many times that they and Trump represent the same ideals. Don Black, the leader of the self-proclaimed white supremacist anti-black group called Stormfront, that has also been confirmed by the FBI, has also said many times that Donald Trump becoming president has been great support to their agenda. Steve Smith, the leader of the Keystone State Skinheads, a profoundly violent racist group identified by the FBI, communicates his support for Donald Trump every time he gets in front of a camera. And it just keeps going. The SPLC is the group that is responsible for bankrupting the KKK. They put out a list of the 170 active racist groups. If you go on their website, every single group supports Donald Trump. So if you're black, I don't think the question is Donald Trump racist? I think the question is, why do racists believe that he's racist? Why do people who come together around one idea, and that idea is the denigration of non-white people in America, why do they believe Donald Trump is best for their agenda? What does the Grand Wizard of the KKK see in Donald Trump that he likes? And if you're a person of color, how can Trump be good for him and you? Why do all of those groups like him so much? Do you think it's his economic policy? Do you think that these people get together and pick a candidate based off of economic policy? And if you're a white person that's considering voting for Donald Trump that doesn't consider themselves to be racist, what does it feel like knowing that you walk in the voting box and you hit the same button as some of the most abhorrently, flagrantly racist Americans? What does that feel like, being lockstep with them?
And you're thinking about sitting out? But, Cousin Pookie might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
Now, President Obama did say men. This went down as chastising black men but he said men, which is something that he has echoed before. However, I would argue that even just saying men is too narrow, because white women have been just as sexist.
So my kids keep me humble. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble.
I don't think she understands that there are a whole lot of women out here who, one, are not aspiring to be humble.
You have a black woman who is running for president who is dealing with pick-me's from both sides. She's dealing with black pick-me's and she's dealing with female pick-me's.
And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you?
Again, this part to me is unobjectionable. I already mentioned some historical examples, but then there's everything that happened just this year, like the fact that he called low-wage jobs black jobs, or how about Kamala just happening to turn black? Or how about demonizing Haitian migrants based on no evidence whatsoever? And then, by the way, ignoring the fact that it's actually a white guy who was out here shooting geese. How about the fact that a number of his first couple of rallies just happened to wind up in sundown towns? Oh, why don't we go ahead and use his relationship with law enforcement? Oh yeah, the guy who you feel like is just like you because he's a victim of a politicized criminal justice system, but then wants to give police blanket immunity? Yeah.
We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job.
And the tweets. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Why those words?
So that's an expression I've heard over the years. And
do you know where it comes from?
I think Philadelphia, the mayor of Philadelphia,
No,
from what
it comes from 1967. I was about 18 months old at the time. Everybody's shooting Wiki because they probably got it wrong. But it was from the chief of police in Miami. He was cracking down, and he meant what he said. And he said, I don't even care if it makes it look like brutality, I'm going to crack down. When the looting starts, the shooting starts.
Yeah. In fact, while I was doing research for this particular piece, I just happened to stumble upon Tyrone McAlpin, a deaf man with cerebral palsy who's facing charges after he was assaulted by Phoenix police officers. The officers acted on the claims of a white man who falsely said he was assaulted by a black man and pointed to McAlpin, a guy with cerebral palsy. Yeah, he want to give them immunity.
Because you think that's a sign of strength? Because that's what being a man is? Putting women down? That's not acceptable. That's not, this shouldn't even be a question.
Okay, am I offended by what Barack Obama had to say to black men? No, because I'm not easily offended. I also thought there was a lot of truth in what he had to say. I think where things got a little muddy is the specific targeting of black men for a lot of the things that he's saying, whereas what he's actually describing is a societal problem. It is not specific to black men. It's not specific to black people. Sure, there can absolutely be a lack of logic among black men. And there are certainly pick-me's among black men, no doubt. Or in some cases, a lack of logic and pick-me's, as you see with Rob Smith. And as you saw, no amount of lecturing or shaming is going to change that. And
sorry, Obama, I'm a black man and I'm voting for Donald Trump for president, and there is no amount of lecturing or bullying or shaming that you can do that is going to make me change that decision. I am not afraid to vote for Kamala Harris because she is a woman. I refuse to vote for Kamala Harris because she has spent the last 4 years destroying this country.
And no degradation of him, people who look like him, or in his case, people who love like him. No amount of incoherent ramblings on the campaign trail. No past affairs, no bankruptcies, no insurrection, yada, yada, yada. There are people like that. However, they exist in all demographics, specifically, especially in this particular election, which is one that has been very targeted towards women and the rights that they're going to be able to take out of 2024 and beyond. How about the women that are openly advocating against their own best interest? The media keeps having this conversation about black men because of a couple of loud ones and decided it could be a whole personality and brand for them. But ascribing that to all black men is like seeing Laura Loomer and telling all women to put the knife down. And why, oh why, are black men always the scapegoat in scenarios like this? We automatically go to black men, despite the fact that, historically speaking, black men are amongst the most reliable voting bloc in the country. In fact, that fact alone is one of the things that inspires a lot of pick-me's to illogically go the other route against their own best interest.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs! She is cuckoo! What the hell? People, how in the world did we get here? How did we get here?
But we're not going to have national conversations about right-wing white women and the things that they're taking for granted and the things that they're overlooking, and calling in the lack of logic involved in how they're entering into this election. Or how about the pick-me's of uneducated white men that have decided, you know what, despite the fact that I'm about to go clock into my union job, I'm going to go along with the guy that, if he had his way, would bust this union because it makes me feel better than them.
Let me make sure I understand this. Donald Trump held a rally in Coachella in California, and it was on this farm, this private venue, and had 20 buses bus thousands of people in, okay, anywhere from 4 to 6 miles away from where they were parked, and then made them sit there in the heat and listen to his same old word salad, and then left them there. Apparently there was like one bus. Apparently the buses just didn't come. Look at this.
Guys, we came to the Trump rally and this is the aftermath.
This is at 10 o'clock. It ended at 7.
And they stopped it? Yeah. So I don't know how long do we have to wait here before we can get to the bus and go back to our car. We waited like 7 hours to just get in the rally, and now it's time to go back. So hopefully we don't have to wait for that long to get in the bus, because our cars is back there at the parking, which is like 5-6 miles away.
And I shit you not, they were like calling on Vivek Ramaswamy and JD Vance to like save them in tweets, also trying to blame anybody but their own savior. Since we know Trump is notorious for not paying his bills, I bet he didn't pay for those buses. He didn't pay for those buses. And the fact that he did not make arrangements to get them out of there, he does not care about you. He does not care about you. Also, there was a bus filled with Proud Boys going to this event, so that's worth noting. Anyways, tots and pears.
And it's at this point I would like to call up the quote of former President Lyndon B. Johnson. When are we going to have these national conversations about the lower middle class, undereducated white men that go against their own best interest? When are those conversations happening? Because they have decided that they want to side with a guy who was gifted $400 million at birth and continues to evade any sort of justice for decades of accusations. And sexism certainly knows no specific demographic. In fact, sexism alone cost Hillary Clinton the election, because there's no way in the world you're going to tell me it is a white man walking the face of this planet with this resume that would have lost to this. Wow, how life would have been different without can you realize without the sexism in 2016, if Hillary would have in fact won, we would have had no January 6th. We would have had no MAGA hats mismatched with Confederate shirts, and we would have had no Michaela Montgomery. I think Keith Boykin put it perfectly.
That's a lie. You can bang the table all you want, but that's not true, Congressman.
You're lying.
We already know that there are
the FBI just released data this week. The crime is going down.
We already know that.
Oh my God! Abby, why do you let this man lie on your national television like this?
No, I mean the other clip. Yeah, the other clip. That one was good though. While we're on the topic, tell Scott that Michael Eric Dyson is looking for him.
Black men are a success story for Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party. After all the gaslighting from Republicans about black men leaving the party 4 years ago, Joe Biden won 87% of the vote from black men in 2020. That makes us the second most loyal constituency of the Democratic Party. Only black women, who voted 95% for Biden, are more supportive. A Washington Post Ipsos poll last month found black men overwhelmingly support Harris over Trump on every issue, including abortion, crime, the economy, and immigration. And a CNN poll last month found very little gender divide among black voters. That means Kamala Harris will probably win 85 to 90% of black men. That's good news, and black men should be celebrated for that. Personally, I don't understand how any black man could vote for Donald Trump after he led a lynch mob against the exonerated Central Park Five, lied about Obama's birth certificate, blackballed Colin Kaepernick out of the NFL, and bragged about bringing back racist policing tactics like stop and frisk. But I also know that unanimity of opinion is unattainable. No candidate or party is ever going to get 100% of black people to support them, but 87% is pretty damn good. That's why I've said before that we can't pathologize black men for our voting patterns when other groups, mainly white women, are the real problem. That brings me to my second point. I don't think Obama was scolding or pathologizing black men. Instead, he was having an internal conversation with black men to get us to examine some of the reasons that some of us don't support Kamala Harris. That's why the black men Obama was speaking to in the room seemed to agree with him. Obama made a point that a small but vocal contingent of men, including black men, refuse to support any woman candidate for president. Many of them have unrealistically high expectations for Kamala Harris, but don't hold Trump to the same standard. One black man in Pennsylvania told reporters he plans to vote for Trump because Harris doesn't come from a background similar to the majority of black Americans. That makes no sense. Does he think a white man who spent his career refusing to rent to black people and spreading racist lies about us understands the black experience better than the black woman who grew up in Oakland, attended Howard University, and joined AKA sorority? I'm sorry, I call bullshit. That man just doesn't want to vote for a woman. Obama wasn't speaking to all black men, he was speaking to that man and to the black men who have no problem with Trump selling cheap mugshots and $400 gold sneakers as black outreach. But when a black woman who spent her entire life around black people tries to get them to vote for her, it's considered pandering. Just stop lying about why you're voting for Trump because you're making yourself sound ridiculous.
And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
It's the exact same message that Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul delivered on the Win with Black Men Zoom call with 40,000 black men supporting Kamala Harris in July.
Some men are reluctant to support a woman, thinking that it weakens their stature as a leader.
So why are we acting all new with Obama? Obama delivered a similar message to all men in Pittsburgh the same day.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. I've noticed this especially with some men who seem to think Trump's behavior, the bullying and the putting people down, is a sign of strength. I am here to tell you that is not what real strength is. It never has been.
I would like you to note that 3 different times during this video, I have gone on a run detailing Donald Trump's racism. I just tossed to Keith Boykin, who gave you a 4th run of Donald Trump incidents detailing his racism. And not a single item was repeated. And nobody even mentioned this right here.
I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president.
Who you think he was talking about? Who you think he was talking about?
And I'm going to say this to mainstream media. Y'all so focused on black men supporting Donald Trump, which not even a large number supported him then. And of course, right now, his support with black men is not really increasing. Instead of focusing on black men, you need to focus on his real core base, the people who still continue to support him. That is white people. Majority of white men at 60-something%. White women at 53%. Cuban and Venezuelan men at a 30-40% number. You got some Asians in here. I mean, y'all need to focus on them instead of focusing on black men, because black men are the 2nd largest voting bloc in the Democratic Party behind black women. You can look at the numbers. They are. So y'all need to focus on the white people that continues to support him, the Cubans that continue to support him, and the trickle amount of Asians, instead of focusing on black people.
So in summation, I thought that a lot of what Barack Obama had to say was extremely valid, and I don't fault him for saying it. He just should have directed it at everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and also a special thank you to all of our subscribers and members here on the channel. I'm just about to roll out the first batch of badges and emoji, and I'm taking your suggestions on what you think would look nice in the chat or look nice next to your name when you leave a comment. Email me at reese@reesewaters.com and let me know what your suggestion would be. We are on the precipice of 200K. What do? We throw a party? We do a special live? You know what? I'm gonna surprise you.